thank you, Claudio, so much for your time today. It's really a pleasure to meet you and talk to you in this deep dive and one of possibly the many episodes of this slash behind the scenes. We're very excited to have you on stage on the 3rd of September. But without further ado, why don't you introduce yourself a bit for maybe people that have little context but would like to know more?
Hi everyone, Claudio Erba, former CEO of Docebo. Docebo is a software as a service public company traded at the NASDAQ. I believe it's one of the 3 Italian companies that have that are traded at the NASDAQ now. 200 million revenues in ARR, 19 years of journey, founded in March 2005. As of now, consistently above $1 billion market cap. I don't define myself retired, but I'm a former CEO. I left the role in 29th of February 2024. So I now have the luxury to look at my mistakes in retrospective.
Well, mistakes are a tiny part of what is, I would say, more of a success story, Claudio. But could you describe very briefly what is the idea of Docebo for people that are not familiar with the business, and maybe how also it was born?
Yeah, so the product, Docebo is a platform that hosts, deliver, and track all the online learning that happen into companies. Every company needs to train their own employees, their own partner, their own customer. They have to build internal and external academy to train them online. Docebo is the software that you use to build your own academy. Usually, it's well suited for mid, very large enterprise. Big names use Docebo. Millions of users trained every month. How the idea was born was as a classical slide indoors. I was teaching at the university. My students wanted a place where to download my slides. We were in 2005, so no Dropbox was there, nothing was there. We have built with a couple of founders a password-protected area where to download files that we were bold enough to fake, to name it as an online learning platform in the pure style of fake it until you can make it. But every month, we continued to add features. Some of the features were coming from customer requests. Some other were our own ideas on how to improve the fit to create new ways to train people differently from what the competitors were doing. And we did this journey from 1 to 200 million revenues in 19 years.
So super fascinating. Basically, the story of Docebo is a real entrepreneurship story in the very Silicon Valley. I know it's weird to say, but born in the garage. I mean, I was making my research about Docebo, and I learned that you started basically in your hometown. Is that correct?
Actually, I started in my home office, and this is the home office where I've started Docebo. I mean, now it's more, fancy, a good library and stuff like that. The bookshelf, you can see some lesson learned with the Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole, stuff like that. But this is true. Truly, the office, I never changed my home. I'm still living in the same place, still working the same place. Of course, Docebo now have like 8 offices around the globe, from North America to Australia, Middle East, Europe, you name it. But I'm a guy that is very rooted to his hometown, and this is the place where Docebo is born. Literally, this room. My desk was there, not here, but it's the same room.
That's amazing. This brought me a question, Claudio. So, do you think that being based in your hometown and also having Docebo hosted always in the same place has helped you focusing on growing the business rather than not? I don't know if my question makes any sense.
Well, actually, I think that for European companies, especially when you live in nations that don't have a huge internal total addressable market, which is well suited for a software as a service mid-large enterprise, you feel the pressure to go abroad from day one. Docebo, the second year of Docebo, we had already localized the software in 45 languages. That was a sign of our ambition to go abroad. So the pressure of living in countries, and I'm living in Italy, where everyone is celebrating the beauty of the small business, which in my opinion is totally wrong, put me in the survival need to go abroad as quick as possible. Well, but the quickest possible was our first office was open in United States 7 years later, so we have a different concept of as quick as possible. But when we have opened our office we had opened another small office in Dubai, but it doesn't count. But when we open in North America, you have to imagine that our revenues were 99% Italy, 1% rest of the world. 2019, the IPO year, we were 75% North America, 25% rest of the world, where Italy was just a small fraction.
Super interesting. I think I read somewhere that you had some difficulties in raising capital at the time that you were mentioning, in Italy especially, and that prompted you to look abroad, and then you moved to US. Is that correct?
Well, first of all, you have to imagine that in 2005, outside of this window, there were dinosaurs. I mean, we were really at the age of stone of the software. The cloud was not there. And so we grew with our own money, just a small angel investment for 7 years. We bootstrapped from 0 to 1 million. And then we raised capital from one venture capital in Italy. We were growing 50% year over year in a very healthy manner. But the second round didn't happen in Italy because Italian usually at that time, that was 2013, there was not the culture of the software as a service. Then most of the investment were in B2C or in different things. And so we were lucky enough to find a North American partner that and we made the journey to the IPO with them, and they are still the biggest shareholder now in 2024. So paradoxically, the fact that it was hard for us to raise money in our country was a propeller, a positive factor in retrospective, because we had to learn how to sell abroad, how to deal with venture capital abroad, and the fact that we were already growing a lot in North America was an enabler for finding venture capital in Canada in our specific situation.
I'm interested in knowing what would you suggest to young companies that are maybe facing a similar situation as Docebo has faced in 2005? So they want to make the leap, they want to scale, and they're looking to go abroad. But it seems to me that it's really important that the first partner has to be a very good one, possibly. Like in your case, it was very helpful, as you mentioned.
No, for us was the opposite. First of all, I'm writing right now a lesson on how to go abroad for entrepreneurs, because going abroad is literally one of the biggest operational effort you can do. And so we were lucky to find Alessio Artuffo, which is now the actual Docebo CEO, living in North America, selling online learning, and was an Italian that was doing in America the job that we were doing in Italy. We met each other, we fall in love. He spent 1 year with myself and Fabio, which is the chief product officer of Docebo, and then he moved back to North America and implemented all the operations. So if I have to give advice to my fellow entrepreneurs that are out there, let me open the slide and let me play a little bit my professor role because I love it.
Please do.
So my lesson, I'm not sharing slide because they're very secret. You have to wait. We need to create some. But first of all, there are elements that are in favor of becoming international, and then there are elements that are against this opportunity. Let's call it headwinds and tailwinds. So the headwinds are you have a strong home market. I mean, you are, for example, in France, and you sell to big companies. France has a huge market, and usually before going abroad, they try to, make revenues in their own market. Paradoxically, this playing against your internalization willingness, because it's easy. You go in Paris, you walk around this beautiful arrondissement, you have your cafe in Paris Marais, and then you do business. Why go abroad? Okay. Second is your product is built to satisfy a specific local need. I mean, let's imagine you have a software in compliance that is heavily tied to a regulation of a specific nation or group of nations. Will be very difficult to go abroad. And the third one is you don't find the right candidate or you don't know the market well enough. So those are the headwinds. Then you have the tailwinds. First of all, the pressure. The pressure to go abroad because your market is very small. This is an opportunity. You need to go abroad because you need to survive. Then you have a product, and this starts from product strategy, that it's built to be multi-region. It's an horizontal product from a geography standpoint. Third, you have an idea to target a market big enough. I have seen many people opening in crazy places just because they have their parents there or whatever, but the market is tiny. And I mean, those kind of market can be interesting, but usually you open market through a reseller, not directly. So if you have a product that is horizontal, a pressure to survive to go abroad, and you have identified a market that is big enough to support the opening of an office with the related operation, which is not only the sales team, your next problem is finding a leader. And be patient. My rule is open an office abroad. You will fail the 3 country directors. The third one will be the right one.
So you basically, there are some basic requirements, but then without the right people, going abroad is basically
absolutely. So
say impossible, but very hard.
I was speaking with another entrepreneur yesterday, and they say, "Cla, what I have to do to go abroad?" In my opinion, I say, first of all, fly in the country you want to open an office. Analyze the market, speak with 10 salespeople that work for your competitors, gather all the information you need to gather, build a personal relationship with them. If there are 1 or 2 that you like, maybe those are the higher number 1 to set up the office, but you need to have them with you for several months, probably 1 year, and you need to be patient. You need to tell to your board and your investors that this is a long-term game, that in the budget you are going to forecast in a very sandbagging, conservative way, 0 revenue for 3 years, and then we will start making revenues. It's a long-term game. It's not something that will pay the bills in 1 year.
Right. I'm curious now to know, so when was the first time that you personally started to think, okay, US could be the place to go for us?
Well, I was stupid and I haven't, I mean, you know, when you work from one country and you are not boot on the ground in other country and you don't have international experience. I made my international experience in 19 years, but I was like very little international ambitions. Yes, my English was okay. I mean, I can buy a sandwich at Subway without any problem, but close to have the wrong sandwich sometime. And then I met Alessio. Alessio was living in Atlanta. He knew North America very well. So it was, I mean, the internationalization strategy was more his job, his idea than my idea on the how to do it. I was the enabler because I was incredibly supporting on internationalizing. I knew that was the right thing to do. And I was the guy that was giving him money to support the operation and endorse him, protect him, empower him. But he was the real hero for internationalization, not me.
And now I'm curious to know also, how did you meet Alessio? Because I imagine that the word today, it's very different from the word when Docebo started.
First of all, the life is right indoors. Alessio contacted me saying, hey, is there a way we can work together? And he was working for a competitor. It was like, what? You are writing me out of the blue from a competitor. And then he came back in Italy. We had a nice dinner. I'm not saying we fall in love, but there was the strong feeling that we could be the two great partners. And then I promised him, the first moment I'm going to raise money from a venture capital, the first hiring will be you to open an office in America. The day I got the money in the bank from a venture capital, the same evening I sent him the hiring letter. That said, this was, you know, the kind of serendipity thing. What I would do is try to strategize. If I have to do it another time, I will strategize this, try to get the same outcome. That's why I'm saying that the entrepreneur should go to the country you want to cover, know the country, meet the people, as many you can from your industry, from the role you want to hire to start, fall in love, bring her, him, whoever, back, spend time with you and your colleague, osmotically, you know, blend in the culture of the company, and then go back fully, you know, fulfilled by the company values. That's how I would execute it. By the way, there is another mistake which I really don't like, and I see many entrepreneurs do, which is, you know what? I have built a decent company in, don't know, Belgium, Germany, whatever. I'm leaving all the stuff here in Germany, and I'm going to live in Florida, in New York, and I will open the office of my own without being, without knowing the local market you are going to approach. This is wrong. Different story. I'm an entrepreneur. I lived 10 years in the United States. I'm back in Germany, and then I go back myself to build the market, which is another topic. But a CEO that don't know the market, that pretend to go and open, it's wrong.
So if I understood correctly, founders these days should really think that internationalization is a tough process, and to go without having market knowledge or people that you can trust and you can do business together to overcome this gap. Yeah, if you don't have these conditions, probably it's not a good idea. to proceed with
and
expansion.
you need to be patient, do a lot of mistakes without the worry to fail. Of course, try not to waste a lot of money. But I mean, it's a trial and error. Every different company will do in a different way. Patience, consistency, and find the right person are the key pillars.
Right. I have a bit of a challenging question, Claudio. Feel free to let me know if you want to answer it or not. But you're talking about mistakes being very conducive to growth, especially in the startup world. What would you say was the, let's say, the biggest mistake or the one mistake that really helped actually Docebo grow and become what it is today?
Paradoxically, I mean, first of all, I do have a curricula that I teach in universities, venture capital and private equity fund. Every chapter have at least 4 mistakes. Okay. And I think that I have like 50 mistakes already available for free. But I think that the biggest mistakes that are the one that I made before being an entrepreneur in Docebo were mostly financial mistakes, where I've lost money in the dot-com bubble in 2001. These, gave me the right level of paranoia and conservatism in terms of how to manage my wealth and the company capital, that where Docebo have always been a company which have been capital efficient. And when I say capital efficient, a company with negative EBITDA can be capital efficient. If it's the level of EBITDA, my golden rule is if you have an EBITDA negative that can be turned positive in 2 quarters, your business is healthy. Because you can burn money, not a lot, to reinvest in growth. But if there is, a crisis and we are full of crisis now, or whatever, and you want to turn EBITDA positive, you can do it in like 2 quarters, you will sleep well. Second thing, 0 debt always. I hate companies that are loaded of debt. They are time bombs, especially in those times where a war can happen and the GDP grow, the GDP can fall 15% in 1 year because there is some crazy crisis.
In this sense, Claudio, would you say that Italy, I mean, with all these flaws and all these beautiful things, is reasonably a reasonably good place to start a business these days?
You can start a business literally everywhere. I mean, the difference is made by the people. What's missing in Europe and in the Middle East now is the right blueprint of execution that the Americans have, like how to correctly set up the sales team, how to set up the compensation plan, how to run a board properly, how to strategize the product. Those things, because there are not many companies that have arrived to 1,000 employees and above, those are not common. So, in my opinion, it's not a matter of capital. Liquidity is still out there, but it's a matter of having a methodology, the right board members, the right coach, the right ecosystem of seasoned entrepreneurs that can help you. And usually, and I'm helping a few companies. And when I get nervous with them, when I see them doing the mistakes that I did already. So for me, it's listen to me, big mistake, think twice.
Got it. And interesting to know if you take the perspective of a young entrepreneur. So let's scale back a bit. Let's go to more of a bootstrapping phase, if you want. You mentioned that the right execution is what is really crucial rather than being in Italy compared to another place. How would you say a young entrepreneur can let's say, get up to speed compared to his American counterpart? Or, you know, people that have this blueprint?
Wrong question.
Okay.
Now I'm asking you a question, okay? In your opinion, if you have now a company that grows 50% year over year, consistently, 1 million, you grow 50% year over year. How much will be your revenues in 10 years?
If you grow 50% year over year, where am I starting from? What is the
from 1 million? You are at 1 million.
From 1 million. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, my math is bad, but 50% each year, so it means that next year I'm gonna be 1.5 million, and then I'm gonna be that's the math 0.5, so 2.25, and so on and so forth. So at the end, what was the time span? I forgot it.
10 years.
10 years. Well, it's pretty big. It's gonna be a big number.
Yeah, it's 38,443,359.
Pretty nice.
Okay. With 40 million, imagine a multiple of 5. You have a 200 million exit. Okay, so it's not a matter of boost your revenues 200%, wasting a shitload of money in 2 years, but it's consistency. And growing 50% for 10 years when you start small is not impossible. It's just a matter of setting up operation. So for me, the most important thing is consistency. Consistency is everything. And I would execute with very little raise if needed, and try to dilute as little as I can, because remember, every time you dilute through new investors, you are continuously doing the same effort, because you are working like 23 hours a day and you sleep 1 hour per night. But those 23 hours, when you are a solo founder, are all for the creation of your wealth. When you have 10 investors and your dilution is you own only 20%, you still have 23 hours of stress, but just 20% are to create your wealth, and the rest is you are enslaved by your investor. I'm not against financial leverage. I'm not against everything. I'm against stupid dilution.
So consistency, you say. And what would you say is the day-to-day correspondent to this consistency? It's like, now it's a very silly question here, but means, of course, working harder, longer than everyone, but also in terms of mindset, what does really help?
It's easy. I need to go in office, invent great products, and do invoices because I'm selling the product at the start. When you start scaling, the problem becomes leadership, how to keep people motivated. But at the end, the duties changes because your leadership is different, because the number of people you have to deal with are, a lot in number, a lot more. But it's just go and be consistent. Whatever you do, be consistent. Go in office every day, focus, work as it's the day one. Don't feel yourself a superhero because you raised 10 million and you go bragging in some aperitif, whatever. Work consistent. Your objective is 50% every year, and that will be to 38 million, 449, whatever, after 10 years.
Amazing. Well, Claudio, not a lot can be said after this, but I have one last question, if I can. You are a big fan of Nassim Nicholas Taleb, I think, right? And I love your tweets.
Give me one second. Sorry, we need to give me 1 second.
Okay, there we go.
Now we are together with the sorry. We are together with the maestro.
Okay. For the guys who are listening or watching, Claudio has the complete collection of Nassim Nicholas Taleb works, and it's a very nice edition.
Yeah.
These are not paper.
I need to add a bank loan to buy it, but worth every single word.
Pretty nice. The reason I'm asking you this question, Claudio, is that I love your tweets. You always share a lot of wisdom in our, well, it's not called tweets anymore, well, X, whatever. We know what we're talking about here. And you mention often the concept of anti-fragility compared to being robust or resistant. And I'd like to know your perspective on this, not just on the personal side, but also on the startup side. Like, what does it mean for you, for a startup, to be anti-fragile?
So indeed, it's very consistent with the logic of ecosystem. Being anti-fragile means that the mistake of the individual or the failure of the individual makes robust the rest of the people, okay? So when I say we need a blueprint of execution in Europe to teach young entrepreneurs, means all the entrepreneurs like me sharing the mistakes that we have made in order to make them anti-fragile, in order they learn that I made a mistake and then someone else can do only 50% of the mistake I made. I mean, I had a beautiful dinner 2 days ago on the beautiful place in Palermo in front of the sea with an entrepreneur, and we were speaking and he say, "Oh, I'm building my own BI system. I'm building my own adoption KPIs." And I'm saying, so you are complaining that you don't have enough R&D people, but you are building tools that are available on the market that you can buy in software as a service and still developing your core product. It was a mistake that I've made. I've built my own ERP to manage, all the instances and blah, blah. And when we had to migrate to Salesforce, it was a bloodbath in terms of economics and time invested. So, and I hope that while we were eating beautiful food and enjoying the time together, this person have understood that he had to stop on developing his own non-core technology and buy outside, because it was my mistakes. And I hope he became anti-fragile in this way.
So basically, the first point of being anti-fragile in the entrepreneurship world is remembering to not reinvent the wheel.
The anti-fragility is not to make the mistakes that your coach made.
Right. Absolutely. So reducing the noise in the distribution, as we might say in a statistical Talebian way.
At least do other mistakes, but do not repeat. Do not repeat mine. Otherwise, I'm useless. I'm here to share the fact that I made this mistake. Please don't do this one. Try another one.
Absolutely. Well, Claudio, you shared a lot already in this conversation as a teaser, and we can't wait to hear what's next on stage on the 3rd, and we very much look forward to see you there.
Good. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you so much, Claudio.